every single thing that I had built, I lost. And it was like one by one. And I think the one that hit me the most, the one that was like a sword in my heart, was my children's life policies. That one hit me because that was security. That was, if I was going to leave today, I knew I had something for them. That one was a very hard one for me to let go. Hey Chommies. Hey guys. Hi. Welcome to episode 5. I am Petronella Nonsegelelo Chuma.
And I'm Stephanie Ndlovu.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
No, you're doing well.
Am I?
Yes, you're doing very well. Pat doesn't want to introduce episodes because I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but you did a good job. That was a great introduction.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I think we've established, or we would say, you definitely, you have the gift of talking, my friend.
So you don't have a gift of talking. No, let's fix that.
Like,
you have a gift of talking. You might not be comfortable
in front of a camera
like this.
Yeah.
But the gift of talking, Shim. The one who talks the most in this relationship. Anyway.
As she talks.
Thank you guys for tuning in, as Pat has said.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for your love. Thank you for building this community with us.
Thank you.
And today's episode is an interesting one, is it not?
Is it interesting? Acting.
You see, when we start like this.
Guningi. But anyways, maskhulume. Let's go.
Okay.
Acting.
Quick fire questions.
Yes.
Your favorite role to date? Your favorite role?
My favorite role. I have to think.
Oh, because we've played so many. Me, I only have 5 to choose from, but other people.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I used to have a favorite, but
Okay, what was it?
My favorite would have been Nolita in Of Good Report.
Why?
Because it was my first film. And a lot of people really have come up to me and say, like, they honestly believe that what if we had to put a list of like great South African films, Of Good Report is on there.
Okay, nice.
And yours?
I'm probably gonna go with Olivia in Esidingo.
Oh.
Yeah. I actually had more because I had so much fun playing that character. She was a bit of a wild one.
Okay.
Between her and Jazzy in Binnenlanders. But
yes,
that wasn't so much the role as much as it was my first Afrikaans, acting part, and I was terrified. So that was more because I was so proud of myself that I was actually able to pull off that storyline. So yeah, between Olivia and Jazzy, your least favorite?
Ooh. Hey, I was attached. But I don't know, like, if it's my least favorite, but maybe I would say the character I played on Splintered Pieces. I forgot my character's name.
Which one was Splintered Pieces now?
So Splintered Pieces is the one that I played Masculine Gay, the photographer.
Yeah. Hey, that one required some.
And the reason why I would say, and I've never watched it actually.
Yeah.
So the reason why is because this is baby number 2. And I was really uncomfortable.
I remember you complaining a lot about the fact that it had quite a bit of nudity and sex scenes. And you were so uncomfortable because you had just had Kamaku and, well, not just, but you were very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Because now, previously, like, for example, with Of Good Report, I was, 22 22.
Yeah.
I think I was 22, and I had Sipo, but like I was still young, you know. So now having to do sex scenes and nudity, and what we spoke about in our last episode, the you know, our comfortability in our bodies and all of that. And so we had a intimacy coordinator. We, you know, but I was just like really so uncomfortable.
Okay, I get that. And so, if you could have done anything differently in the last 15 years or so as an actor, if anything at all, right? What would that have been? Like, as far as your acting career is concerned, if you could have made different choices or nothing at all, is there anything? You wish I give you these things ahead of time. Nah, I will not do it.
If I had, what would I have done differently? Not data director. Can I please have water?
It's the way she says it, but then she requests Mo that she needs to.
I don't know if that's going in, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, moving on, guys. Let's move on. Okay, you can ask me.
Would you have done anything differently, Fred?
I honestly think I wish I had focused less on what I thought other people were thinking about my acting a lot sooner, and actually just being present in doing what I know and now know I'm able to deliver.
Yes.
As opposed to seeking so much validation. I remember, especially Ingrid days, like if I had a storyline, I would like go there into the producer's office or whatever and not directly ask, but try and like fish for validation or ask fellow actors, how was that scene? So just the level of doubt that I had, I wish, like, you see, if I was playing England now, where I am in the headspace now, I'd be killing it. Not even in arrogance, but just because of the headspace that I'm in. And also being able to take direction, criticism. I mean, I remember playing Ingrid and I was so nervous, even when they would give me a little bit of Afrikaans, because they were obviously trying to establish her as being Afrikaans, but it would throw me. And then fast forward, I go and play an entire character with 99.9% Afrikaans on the most Afrikaans show with like a really heavy storyline. And I did it. So I wish I had focused less on what I thought people were thinking of me instead of just, if I'm going to do this, then do it. Like, that's what I wish. That's one of my regrets.
Yeah.
But
the reason why you're able to say that is because of the amount of work that you've put in now, and the amount of years you've had now. That's why you have the confidence to go, I can do that. Because remember, this was your first role.
True. And true. That is true.
And to be honest, Scandal was also my first role. Ruby. And
that's where people started confusing us.
Ruby and Ingrid.
Which I just...
So I remember, like, I always remember the scene, and it's somewhere on YouTube, where I go, Donna's my mom, and it's in the reception area where, you know, I would go, Donna, I'm your daughter, Ruby. And friend, because I was 21, had the cutest little voice, and it was like my first breakthrough role, and I'm there, when I look back at that acting. But whilst we're on Benelanders, you know, I forgot to actually say to you in the last episode, Uguti, I'm actually so proud of you because you did something so big. First and foremost, speaking in Afrikaans in like 99%, right? But you had to you were challenged.
No, I was.
Besides the language. You had to do something. And I was shocked you had the guts
What did
to
I
do this. You, your character was like in an emergency room, or was your character pregnant? I can't remember.
Oh, that was when I came back. So that was not the second storyline. Yeah.
And you had to show your tummy.
Yes.
And how long was this after you had Rulani?
Was it like
a year or less?
No, less. It was
less?
like 6 months. 7 or 7, 8. I want to say 7, 8, maybe 9 months.
Yeah. And you're here in your self-consciousness, stretch marks and everything. But thespian, my friend, actor, my actor.
Amen, guys.
Ude, you
I was like, I'm already there within the depths of the language. I cannot even be concerned with everything else. But anyway, yes.
Well done.
So thank you. So, let's just take it back a few steps briefly, right? Sure. Because we've got a lot to unpack in this episode.
Yeah.
Why acting? Briefly. Why acting? Have you always wanted to act? I know it's a very cliche, generic question, but why acting? Have you always wanted to act? Have you ever seen yourself doing anything other than being an actor?
Why acting? I think my reasons for acting have progressively changed, and I've had to, and still do, have to find the reason. I have to find the why consistently. I mean, I fell in love with performing at the age of 7. So the reason for then was because I loved to play.
Yeah.
And then it followed suit in my teenage. Oh, I loved to play. I loved performing. And I had a huge imagination. I used to, create stories and stuff like that. I loved playing, and I had a wild and broad imagination as a child. And, that followed suit in my teenage years, early 20s. I think the difficulty is when I started approaching my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go in you. Okay. And then now at 35 is the reasons change, and really trying to also sometimes go, do I even still want to do this?
Yeah.
Is this still God's plan for my life?
Yeah.
And I think for me that's still a question mark, because obviously we're gonna get into it as to what's happening in our careers and stuff like that.
But since we are already there, my friend, one thing I've noticed about you and I, we love to say we'll get into it, and we're still going to get into it.
Okay.
But we're getting into it summer now.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you said now at 35, having to ask yourself, is this still God's plan?
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation. So I want to invite you guys into this conversation that's been happening for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when was the last time you were on set? You can distinguish between, like, I know you did an ad not so long ago, but between like a booked role.
If we're gonna be like precise, I would definitely if we're gonna be precise, but I'll expand. It was October of last year, right? But the reason why I'm like, okay, I was very grateful for that opportunity, because last year was 2024. And this role came about because the DOP knew me and suggested me, right? So this wasn't, which is fair, which is fine. I've gotten roles where I've been suggested. Perfectly fine. Where I booked, audition and really booked was June of last year. And that was an ad. In my mind, not to take away from the film that I did in October, but just it came after 2 years to the month. Which is actually so interesting, because even that last gig that I got in October in 2022 was because the director wanted me, right? And that was a film I shot, and but for me that was the last proper film that I did, because Lena that I did in October last year in 2024, I only had 1 or 2 calls.
So you saying now in your 30s, especially now at 35, questioning whether or not you should be on this path, whether you should be an actor. Does that have anything to do with the fact that it's been really tough to book roles in the last 3 or so years?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yo.
Because we've been auditioning.
Yo.
No, we've been auditioning.
I feel like we even need a moment. I feel like, hi, guning. Like, I've lost count of how many auditions I've done. Angsazi manj, angsazi. Like,
and we've had this conversation. Okay, I know that it's not exactly the same for us.
Yeah.
In the sense that I took a sabbatical after after being pregnant, and then, Rue. But even in coming back, we're not underplaying the ad that we got here, or the, kind of feature role that we got there. But for the most part, we haven't acted in a minute, right?
Sure. How long has it been for you?
So I got called back to Binnenlanders, I think, for a second storyline after Rue, which was maybe 2023.
Okay.
But like, if you put it into perspective,
Sure.
saying that you worked once,
Yeah.
maybe twice,
Yeah.
for a year as an actor,
Yeah.
is really tough. And this is not the reality for only us. It's the reality for many actors, not just South African actors. But now we need to get into being an unemployed actor.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What has been the hardest part of having to go to audition after audition? Mind you, you got to put gas in the car to go to these auditions, right?
Or you have to Uber.
Or you have to Uber to go to these auditions.
Yeah.
Or you have to come here, or I have to go to you if it's a self-tape. So so money is going out, but the money is not coming back in, right? Sure. And there are kids, and we got to provide. So that kind of, how has that played out for you, if you want to go there? How has that been for you, being a single mother, 2 kids, but also an actor, and oftentimes being unemployed actor? It's a tough one.
I feel like it's tough, friend. I feel like, like I keep saying, guning. This is the one, episode where it's like, because we're in it. We're right there in it. What month is this? March. Oh, angsaz. So it's like, it's tough. So the amount of auditions we've had, you can't keep going and doing the same thing, having 30, 40, 50 auditions. At some point you're going, what's happening? And what makes it worse, or what makes it good, is that I think about that verse and go, if that role was meant for me, benzo itola. Mm-hmm. And so clearly that it's not mine, then I have to go, why, Lord? Mm-hmm. But before even getting to that place, like, because you have you fight with your thoughts and you go, okay, because at some point it becomes personal.
Of course.
At some point, as you know, I kept going, who have I upset? Who did I fight with? Who hates me? Who doesn't like me? Like, what did I do? What happened?
Because it was almost so
personal.
But also it was so instantaneous.
Yeah.
Like 1 minute, you were working. And the next,
it was just like,
it was audition after audition, but it was callbacks still.
Yeah.
So we were still called. Yes. It was callbacks. Okay. Callbacks, guys, is like after.
Do you remember? Sorry to cut you off. Do you remember 2021?
Yeah.
We both at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Went, I know shame.
We auditioned.
No, we auditioned. And we booked. We auditioned and we booked. And we're like, this has been the best year in our career.
Callbacks.
Yeah.
And then you were auditioning, you were called back in, but it was like, okay, this is what acting's about, let's accept.
Yes.
This is the landscape. Okay.
Because our agent, whom we shared an agent at that time, would remind us that auditioning is part of
acting. Yes. So you can't be sharp. We get it.
Yeah.
Audition 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
9 months. Sharp. Debit orders. Life. Provision. Things are happening. By the time you get to year 2, now you start auditioning. Now you don't even get callbacks.
Yeah.
Talk us through that, because that was then after.
So for a lot of people that don't know, right, I worked on Rhythm City and I was there for like 4 years. And just to also just talk about that, right? I want to, because I did want to say this. I actually, we've spoken in our first episode how Steph and I have gone up against each other in auditions and blah blah blah. So Rhythm City, I still remember. I was in my cottage in Linden, blah blah blah. I was sitting on top. I have a thing sitting on top of counters. So I was sitting on top of the counter. I still remember where we were, and Steph and we both get the brief, and Steph says, "Go for the audition," and I was like, "No, I don't want to do soaps and stuff like that. Anyways, and it was because of Steph. God, beautiful.
Forced her.
God is so beautiful because what was going to happen in my life. Steph forced me. My agent at the time also forced me. Steph forced me. I went to this audition. Steph and I went for this audition, and long story short, I got the role. And so beautiful because of everything that then happened. Because I was there for 4 years because God knew I was gonna need that salary. So you have stability for like 4 years. You have an income. 28th of every month. I used to love the 28th. I still remember. The 28th of every month, you would get a salary. And here you go. Obviously, you've got life insurances, policies, because you've got kids. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this. You've got
medical aid.
You've got gym. You've got debit orders.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that Rhythm City comes to an end, 2021, June. And before it comes to an end, in faith, by faith, I bought a house.
I remember this conversation. You're like, friend?
Because what happened is, because during Rhythm City, remember, I had Kamaku, isn't as so I didn't have enough time to save. But with what I was able to save, I was like, I need to show something of it. There's no way, because after being an actor and getting a stable income, I knew I was going into the freelance world. And so income would come maybe after 3 months, after 6 months. I had no control over that. So I wanted to buy, because I've been wanting to for a long time, buy me and my children a home, which is what I did. I bought a house in faith, knowing ukuthi angazi ngiyoyithola phi imali. And 2023, I basically did not even work a single day. And, it's funny when I see people now like really fussing and fretting about their debit orders going off. Yeah, some of us don't have debit orders anymore. Because every single thing that I had built, I lost. And it was like one by one. And I think the one that hit me the most, the one that was like a sword in my heart, was my children's life policies. That one hit me because that was security. That was, if I was going to leave today, I knew I had something for them. That one was a very hard one for me to let go. So, me, my friend, I talk, does that answer your question?
No, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And I know it's been, we speak oftentimes that we have similar stories but different stories as well, because in the same sense that I haven't necessarily been working, booking, or getting as much, but because there's this content creation, side hustles, and now you're sort of embarking on your own, I wouldn't call it a side hustle, but but creating work or business opportunity. But what I want to speak to is how I've obviously been journeying with you. We've been journeying through this together. And it's a really tough thing also to see and to witness and to watch, because you really go, but guys, this person is so talented. So it's like it has nothing to do with talent or not talent. And also because as a casting director, I know sometimes that it has nothing to do with you. It's not personal. That's what they tell you. But ultimately, you still end up taking it personally, because you just go, there's like, what are the chances, and what do we do now? And so I think that that's where our faith walk has had to come into play, because when you kind of hit rock bottom and there's no way lower down that one can go, you find yourself at a place where you just cry out to God and you're like, Lord.
Yeah. You have obviously, introduced yourself as an actor and a content creator, right? Yes, you're able to sympathize with me. Yes, you've experienced and we continue to experience and whatever, our frustrations and all of that regarding unemployment. But a lot of people have been wanting to get into the content creation space. How did that come about for like you guys?
I mean, you know the story. We both, Thungani and I, actors, COVID happens, it's acting world and everything else closes down.
Yeah.
We start a YouTube channel, and from the YouTube channel, we start creating content, and that kind of now becomes our primary source of income, and remained our primary source of income for a very long time, just because, even, after Scandal, neither one of us was really booking long-term work, and we were both freelancing, but being able to do partnerships and sponsorships and those kinds of work on social media platforms actually became what sustained us, and I think that I'm very grateful because, honestly speaking, I think we would have probably lost the house had it not, been for that space that we then entered into.
Sure.
And I think it started with that, but then we still had our individual brands that we were and are building and cultivating. And I think at first it was just a means to an end, or at first it was just like, give the people what they want, they want to see couple goals. But then later on, I really started to take it seriously as a platform of responsibility, one where very possibly it could be that you're ministering to people, or that you are, allowing God to use you and to speak through
having impact,
and having reach. And that comes with a level of responsibility, because you're not just sitting down and talking. You need to think and consider what you are saying, you need to be truthful, you need to be authentic, but you also need to think about how this impacts other people, but also how it impacts God's kingdom, and how does this glorify his name. So I think then is when I really started to consider the content side of social media as something that's very important, and take it like seriously. Don't just take it as something that's influencer lifestyle vibes, but also think of it as really influencing. And so for me, I really enjoy creating content. I'm thoroughly enjoying what we're doing on this platform, being in the podcast space, being able to share stories that you've just shared now. Because I think I know we spoke about this. We're like we always talk about to your level of comfortability. Right? How far do you want to go when you speak about the things you want to speak? Because we've spoken about it. Family watch us, and then they'll probably be calling us and saying, you don't have to. You need to be careful about how you share X, Y, Z. And we get it, because maybe they be concerned that we are sharing too much.
And they wanna protect
us. But I think at the same time, when you are vulnerable, the way you've just been vulnerable, when you share and you say, the things you had to let go of, things like life policy that was there for your kids, and how that made you feel. I mean, that level of vulnerability, I don't believe it's something to look down, and I think it's something to be so proud of. That's just, I say to you, we speak as far as we're comfortable. There's no script where that's concerned. But I think that it empowers so many. Our stories empower people. Stories of difficulty, but stories of success. Stories of hardship, but stories of victory. We don't have to just be doom and gloom and only speak about the things where it's been difficult, but we can also speak about where God has divinely provided, So I don't even know if I'm answering what you're saying, but yeah.
You have. Can I ask you something? People have family, friends have always gone, Kanti Betty, you've got so many followers. Like, why aren't you doing influencing work? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd always go, guys, it's not me. I don't have the personality to do that. I'm awkward. I'm shy. And like, I just want to perform. Like, I just want to go act and like just go home and be upeti and stuff. So I want to ask you, my friend, what do you say to, and please be honest, ne? Like someone like myself, and many other actors, do you think we're at fault for not like making other means and plans? Like why, for example, people will say like, why just act? Like, why aren't you directing? Why aren't you writing? Why aren't you producing? Why, like, are we at fault for not thinking outside the box? You know, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, should we be doing more? Should acting not just be the one thing that we're relying on? And yeah,
I wouldn't say, I would never say someone's at fault or they're not doing enough, or say, yeah, you're not working because you're not, exploring other opportunities and so forth.
Sure.
Like, there's no way I would ever say that. And the reason for that is because we're all called to different things. And there are those who are called to act and act alone. And they have the faith that carries them even when it's difficult. That's like, this is what I want to do and this is the only thing I want to do. And they invest in that they want to do. So they're not just saying, I'm only going to act and I'm not doing anything else. They are putting in the work. They are working on their craft. They are staying clued up and read up. They are working on their accents. They are doing, whether it's online free courses, they are investing in the very thing that they say they only want to do. Now, how can I say to someone like that, and yeah, you're not booking, so you're still not doing enough? I think what I would say is, or what I always advise people is, I say that it is not an impossible thing, I think, to only be an actor, but please understand that it is tough and it's not as glamorous as, sometimes I think maybe people, I think by now we know it's not as glamorous, especially in the South African context, right? And so I think that it is important to ask yourself or explore if you do have other interests, or if you do have other things that you want to do, or that you feel that you are being led to do, So that's one thing. I wouldn't say like, you at fault because you didn't want to capitalize on the following that you had to do X, Y, Z. If you didn't feel that was within what you are comfortable doing, then why would I encourage you to do something that you feel uncomfortable with? I would say you've got thick skin. I would say, wow, I take my hat off to you who wants to act and only act, and come what may, that's all you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to you, and I pray that you have the support structure, whether in family or friends,
Yeah. So I just had as you were talking, you were saying something about Uguti, if you're serious about this, you'd be doing the accent work, you would be doing the training and blah, blah, blah that needs to be done and all of that. And I just thought, because of to go back to your earlier question, right, is perhaps am I finding myself in the place that I'm in right now based on not booking work, or is it truly maybe, for whatever reason? So as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, maybe I just don't have the passion for it anymore. Maybe I don't have the fire for it anymore. And I know I'm going to go and unpack this by myself with the load and go, maybe I don't actually, maybe I'm still forcing a relationship to work that's just not there. Maybe, like it.
Can I give my 2 cents in that? Again, you go unpack it. So I could be wrong. I don't think that's the case. I think you're still, if I've ever met anyone who loves acting and is passionate about acting, it is you. I think that the circumstances and the situations has unfortunately dimmed that spark just a little bit. I think that a lot. I think that having to endure and having to question it altogether is a very normal response, to it. I don't particularly think that you're no longer passionate about it, because I've seen how you come alive, even in our self tapes, especially when you enjoy a character or when you're excited about a role. And I can tell that this is something that you've loved and you've always loved it, right? So I personally, my 2 cents would be, I don't think you no longer passionate about it or it's a relationship that's not working. I just think that the season that you find yourself in is naturally impacting, how you feel about acting. And I think that's normal, because I just the other day told you I don't think I want to act anymore, And
are you
so,
still in the boardroom with the load? Are you guys still talking? Are you still, what's happening there?
where they?
You and God.
Oh, in that conversation?
How's that meeting going?
Hey man, he done gave me an answer in the form of a dream.
Really?
And I don't know what to make of this dream. I mean, I'll share it just because what?
Okay.
I was like, hey man, I think I shared this dream with you.
Did you?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know, God, like I'm gonna need you to spell it out, like where you want me to be, because clearly I don't know what's happening with the season of acting.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's this, that, and the other. And then remember, I told you I dreamt I was walking down some random pathway, and it was like a deserted area, right?
All right.
So, guys, I believe God speaks to us and answers us in dreams.
Of
just
course.
side note. So now I'm on this pathway. I'm driving. I'm walking. It's deserted. There seems like there's no one there. And then I get to like a crossroad, right?
Yeah.
And there's 2 pathways, and they've got these like hanging trees. And I'm like, okay, which path should I take? Like, which is and I'm really conflicted. Like, which path should I take? And I'm asking God, which is the right one? I don't want to take the wrong one. And I'm terrified of taking the wrong one. And then Jiggy there in the dream, he's like, it doesn't matter which path you take, as long as I'm on that path.
Oof.
It's fine.
I remember this.
And that was my answer. My answer was, I felt not directly related to acting.
Yeah.
The answer was basically scripture. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added. So then I was like, okay, so regardless of the path career-wise that I take, if God is before me, if he is already there, if he's with me, and if that remains my focus, which is what I've been doing to the best of my ability, where I'm just like, I'm just going to keep my eyes fixed on you.
I love that.
Whether you open the door, whether you close that door, whether you open this one. And it's a tough thing to have, right? It's very difficult to still, But my stance right now, as it stands, even though I might be frustrated and I'll say to you, I'm no longer acting. I'm no longer doing this. I'm in my producer's, era. I'm doing X. I'm doing this, that.
Yes.
But basically, I believe that word was, and I don't know, maybe sharing it encourages someone else, but that was basically like, just focus on me. And put your eyes on me, and then I'm going to, as long as I'm there, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm there, you're good.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. That's the answer.
Love it.
For that.
Can I add to that? Because I've been, because we're really sharing, deep things. Oh, I don't know, but like, I just want to say, Oguti, because I know a lot of people are going to watch this, and a lot of people, this is the thing about being vulnerable and like, as much as you've mentioned, my passion and love for performing, and as much as like I haven't worked and everything, I'm done. I'm done taking work just for me to put food on the table. I'm done sacrificing myself. I want to tell amazing stories. I want to tell well-written, well-directed, well-produced stories. Like I'm hungry and thirsty, right? And craving good work. There was a theater show I was preparing for. Bought the book, ordered it from overseas. Everything was going for dance classes, singing lessons, everything. And it's not that I had pride, Nemganwa. I even said to the director, I'm okay not being part of the cast. I just would love to be there for rehearsals. I would love to be a backup actor.
Yeah.
I was willing not to be paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a huge theater show.
Yeah.
And angazi ukuthi kwenzakaleni, like it just a call out message, nothing. Even when I humbled myself, nothing happened. And when I speak about, like, stories I'm craving to tell, stories that I want to really be a part of. Like, I'm so sick and tired of every December we have the same old films. Every year we have a rotation of the same old films. We're not thinking outside the box. We're not creating, we're just doing the same thing. People keep getting funding because, to tell the same old stories, and it's getting boring.
So, if funding was not an issue, would you tell those stories?
I would get a team, definitely. You mentioned something about when I asked you that question. I've been wanting to direct. I've been wanting to create, but I've been saying, Oguti, when the time is right. I'm not ready, and I don't want to be pressurized to start creating what I'm not ready to create.
What does it look like to be ready?
I feel like, yes, right now I know there's a big question mark, but like I feel like there's a certain place I want to get to with my acting. And what that is I would really love to be part of international stories. I'd love,
Okay, I'm not putting you on the hot seat, but I'm just asking. I'm just getting you to like I always do.
Up.
Yeah, because you're riled up. So you're waiting for this part that the space that you want to get to, and you're acting.
Yes.
So if directing is something that you also really want to do you not think you have capacity to simultaneously do both? To pursue one while focusing on the other? To pursue one whilst planning for the other? Whatever that planning might look like.
Yeah.
If it's just writing it down, if it's just creating your first... and I only ask this because I realize that sometimes we want all the pieces before we start building the puzzle.
True.
And sometimes it just requires one step of faith to just put one puzzle piece down, and then you start seeing the other pieces will start coming together, if truly it's something that one desires.
Sure.
But we might find ourselves always waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect situation just to start.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will tell you who've become massively successful in business and everything, just start. Start with what you have. I mean, there was so many times that, again, we wanted to put off doing this podcast or doing so many things, and I just said enough. At which point do we just kind of go, just start, So I think the flip side of this whole conversation, a lot can be said also about just starting.
Yeah.
What you have, with what you have, with who you know, start.
Yeah.
It might not be perfect. It might not be exactly how you want it to, but even if you just write it down, even if you just start there, I think there's power in that. That would be my bit of 2 cents to that point. If directing is really something that you want to do, At this point, I've decided we're going to just write our own stories and cast ourselves.
I mean, I think this is...
Guys, if we decide to write our own stories and we cast ourselves and we act in it, we're going to put it here on this channel, and then you must please watch us.
Yeah.
No,
that's what I really love about what we're doing with Friendship Frequency. That's part of the plan. Really. And I think with to add on to what you were saying, I've just I'm an artist, and I'm an artist, and I'm sensitive. So for me, I've always believed from the place in which I draw my creativity, I always wanted to, like, I don't want to feel like it's like, I don't, do you know what it is? I want to do acting. I want to be able to play. I want to be able to have fun. I don't want it to be the sole, I don't want it to be my bread and butter. And I think that's also what's hurt me as a performer, because it's the one thing now, it has to now pay the bills, so to speak. So for me, even when it comes to that part of creating, for example, even Threads of Grace, the whole of last year, remember, people like, come out, start. And I was like, I'll start when I'm ready. I wanted to take my time. And I think even now, like, going, okay, I want to take my time with it and even pace myself and create from a place of like, and remember, because now it's like I find myself under pressure having to like crochet, and I go, no, relax. Remember how this even came about and stuff. So writing, directing, everything that we're doing, podcast, it's taken us what, 3-4 years for us to be here. Everything has its timing. And what I wanted to lastly on my side is as much as the drought, right, of not booking and all of these things, I'm not willing to settle for less. I'm not willing to tell stories that I'm not passionate about telling. I'm not willing to accept, for example, someone will see this and go, yo, I ulambile and stuff, and no, I'm not willing to accept anything less than what I deserve.
Okay. How has God provided even in this time of drought? If he has he?
Of course. Angazi kanjani, but God has been there. Even in my in my stubborn ways, in my unfaithful, is it right? And my unfaithfulness,
if that's the word.
God has been there.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's sometimes it's hard in seasons of really drought to see God's hand still in that season, but in the form of community, in the form of family, in the form of friends, in the form of whatever the form might look, you're still standing, you're still provided for, and the gratitude that lies in that, though it's tough, though it's difficult. So yeah, man, because it would not be an episode of Friendship Frequency if I didn't leave you with a scripture. So today's scripture is in James 1 verse 2.
Okay.
And wow, what is it? Because I didn't write it down.
Didn't you?
I did not. But basically, I'm going to find it so that I don't butcher it.
Okay. James 1 verse 2.
James 1 verse 2 speaks about endurance. And I've been on this endurance journey and how tough times builds endurance. So it says, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And I've been speaking to you since I've been doing this hiking thing about strength versus endurance. And strength found in God, allows you when you lift weights and you need to be strong in a moment versus needing endurance. And endurance allows you to run a race or to journey. And even when you're tired, you stop to rest. When I was doing that hike, I wanted to give up, but I stopped. I took a rest. I refueled. I put that 15 kg backpack back on my back. And so you learn mentally endurance. And I know it's hard, it's tired, it's exhausting. But that when we build our endurance, it makes at some point, difficult seasons that will come again, because they will come again. But these ones must stop. Then we must have a different season. Then when it comes again, we've built, a level of endurance to endure that season as well. So yeah, proud of you as always. I always say this.
Thank you.
I've said this probably more episodes than one, but I remember saying, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how you endure through your frustrations, through your anger, through the fire. And yeah, I believe that you just got to keep keeping on. Yep.
That's a wrap, guys.
That's it from us, guys. So thank you again for tuning into this episode of Friendship Frequency. If you are on YouTube, please don't forget to comment, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and don't forget to subscribe. Once again, shout out to the Ndlovuzan Cut Thank you for having us on your channel. And it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.